Well, hello everybody out there in Atlanta. This is Chris from AncientLegacy.com with another exciting episode of Topher's Log. We are back in the sort of Ancient Legacy studios here, aka my bedroom, to talk a little bit more about Halloween Horror Nights. Of course, the Topher's Log for Halloween Horror Nights has restarted last week. We are back. We're going to talk about this year. I know it's been already a kind of shitty year, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to trudge through. We're going to talk about good stuff because Lord knows that some of us need some mental escape. But anyway, what I thought would be fun, because last year the whole idea behind what we were doing was that it was an anniversary year, so we were going to do some deep dives and do some top 10 lists and talk about our favorite things throughout our experiences in Halloween Horror Nights and so on and so forth. And because next year is still kind of the 30th anniversary, it is the 30th anniversary, or what would be the 30th event for Halloween Horror Nights. I thought we would continue that trend, and today I want to talk a little bit about the scares, the Halloween Horror Nights scares, things that have scared me throughout the course of going to the event. And of course, if you want to share experiences that you've had where you lost your fucking mind because it was so scary, then go ahead and, comment below and share your experiences. But when sort of trying to think about this, there's a couple things that I wanted to mention. The first thing is that when I was growing up a wee lad in upstate and in New York, upstate New York, the fall and Halloween kind of have a different vibe up there, and probably more so in the Midwest as well. Just the atmosphere is different, and I'm not just talking about the weather or whatever. There's a different feel to the air around Halloween time. When I was young, we didn't do like haunted houses. We didn't really have a whole lot of options to go do haunted houses, but what we did do is, we would go like to the apple orchard and we'd pick apples, and we'd go to the pumpkin patch and pick the pumpkins, and they would often have like haunted hay rides and just normal hay rides and stuff like that. Like that to me was kind of my Halloween growing up. It wasn't until I moved to South Florida that I really experienced my first like legit like haunted house. It was a little place in a strip mall down there, and I believe it was Davie, called Fear Factory, and it scared the piss out of me. And it was something that because I never experienced it like that before. This sort of huge sort of production when it comes to haunted houses. It blew my mind. And then, of course, I think I've mentioned this before. When I was younger, I remember seeing specifically the 94, 95 ads with the Crypt Keeper advertising for Halloween Horror Nights. And I remember, in upstate New York, wanting to go to Halloween Horror Nights. At some point in my life, I was a young lad, didn't realize how the world actually worked at the point at that time, and couldn't actually go to Orlando, Florida to experience it, but that's a whole other story. When I went to Horror Nights in 2000, you can go back, maybe I'll link, if you click the skull here, I'll link the video to where I talked about my horrible experience. My first time going to Halloween Horror Nights back in 2000. It was an awful experience. It was very crowded. We couldn't do anything because it was so crowded. We didn't do very many houses. In fact, we did like one house and a half because we got ushered out of another one because of an incident. It was not a good year. But and I vowed never to come back. But nevertheless, we did come back. We came back the following year, and of course, 2001 I can do a whole video on the year 2001. Maybe I will at some point. But we came back the next year, and it was really the first time we got to experience the Halloween Horror Nights houses. So there was a lot of tricks and things that I'm now used to that at the time I wasn't exactly prepared for. So the house in question that I want to talk about is Superstitions over there. I believe it was in Nazerman's, if memory serves me correctly. I could be wrong. I don't have my notes in front of me, but I think it was Nazerman's. I was not experienced with sort of those false walls, those drop-down false walls things. I never experienced it. I was not prepared for it, and there was a moment when one of those walls came down, and it scared me so much, that I basically fell backwards because the fight or flight response. I kind of I didn't fight, I had the flight, and I fell backwards. And as I fell backwards, everybody else, it was like a domino effect of people falling back in the conga line. Now, back then, At least from my recollection of being inside the house, the conga line wasn't like what it was today. There wasn't a whole lot of people. It wasn't just like I don't recall a continuous stream of people walking around the conga line at that point. But it was quite a number of people that just kind of fell backwards as we did. And I'm pretty sure the scare actor was laughing and everybody else was laughing. The people in front of us were laughing. But it was terrifying because I never experienced anything like that before. And oftentimes when I'm walking through houses today, what does get me the most are the noises, the loud noises. It's more, I guess it's more psychologically, it's the things that I can't see that kind of scare me more. Just the really loud sort of noise effects that they use inside houses. That usually tends to get me more than anything. I don't get like super terrified these days walking through. I mean, there are instances where it does happen. I've kind of become accustomed to the tricks and stuff like that, over 20 years of whatever going to Halloween Horror Nights, of what they use and what they do. So, things don't get me as much. So when they do get me these days, it's actually a good thing because, it's like, they got me. So, it's good. And oftentimes the people that I'm with, if I, there's a phrase that I use, it's oh shit, that's kind of my sort of, startle phrase. They laugh because, oh, they got him, stuff like that or whatever. But it is what it is. And it's all fun. But yeah, there's not a whole lot these days that really gets me like that. Which brings me to my next one that I want to talk about, which is more of a recent one. It's the original American Werewolf in London house. And it was the werewolf at the back end of the theater, the one that was on the floor, eating the victim or whatever. Those puppets, the wolf puppets that year were, I don't have to, tell you how amazing those puppets were. They went on to infamy at this point. But that was really the first time that we had actually seen anything like that good in terms of the puppetry. What was interesting about this particular scare is that, the wolf was down and he was eating and doing, the wolf things. When we walked by, the wolf lunged upwards at us, specifically me, lunged upwards at me. And we were not prepared for how high and how close that puppet got to us. And it was terrible. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it because that was one that I was not prepared for. These puppets are so well done and so scary looking and so creepy and just overall well done that having that thing lunge at you at your face, in that manner it was frightening. It was absolutely frightening. And it didn't just get me, it got a couple of people behind me as well, who were in the group. That was absolutely incredible. And what was funny about that year, specifically when it comes to the puppets, is that it almost seems like the puppeteers throughout the course of the event were sort of figuring out how far they can push the puppets to go, as the event went on. And you could tell, because this was like the first time we had walked through the house. So we weren't expecting that to happen, especially coming up that far and that close. Like that was very close, and it was, it was very close. It was very close. And it got us. It startled us. It was very well. Those are two instances that I can think of in terms of overall being scared or whatever. What I love of what Horror Nights does so well is that they do atmosphere very well. So there's a lot of houses that are just very atmospheric and lend itself to more huge creepy vibes. For instance, another one that comes to mind very recently is in Scarecrow the Reaping. I think that house basically found the correct balance of, forget that it was in a sprung tent, but it found the correct balance of atmosphere, creepy effective scares, sound design, lighting, and just overall jump scares. One of the best examples of that it was towards the end of the house where you had the scarecrow heads in the walls. And to my knowledge, I think they used to rotate. Like sometimes some of the heads would be fake and sometimes they would be real, and they would switch the holes that they were in. So if you went in through multiple times, you wouldn't exactly know which one was real, which one was fake. There was one instance where one of the first times we were walking through there where it literally got us against the wall. Like we were one of those stupid people that scared us and went against the wall and fell down, and it was one of those whole things. I just love when Horror Nights is able to pull off like that sort of huge scare moment. Yeah, and it does happen. It doesn't happen as often as it used to in my early days of going to Horror Nights. Because first and foremost, Horror Nights, it's meant to scare you. That's what the houses are intended to do, is scare you. So, and I'm not one to, I've said this before, pretty sets is not one to get me to love on a house. Like I've got to have a lot of the elements in there. I've got to have, the creep factor. I got to have the scare factor, and stuff like that. So, and I think one of the more recent, like, perfect examples is Scarecrow the Reaping. Poltergeist was another one where I think they did a really good job of balancing out those scares and the creep factor in the transition room between the closet, going into the other side or whatever. That was again, a simple effect, but very, very effective, with the ghosts in the sort of lanolin dress or whatever, because everything else was made of that same material. It was kind of hard to pick out and sort of see them coming as they were coming out to get you. And of course the giant head at the end of the room. Like the first time that I had seen that, I was shocked that that kind of effect was on Horror Nights. And it did. It startled me. It got me. The clown at the end too of Poltergeist, in that one little black room there, that was also very effective. The clown coming down from the ceiling, which when it worked at the very beginning of the event, was actually kind of effective as well. But yeah, so. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the scares, the scares that got me good, things. But the two that I had mentioned at the beginning of this are really kind of the ones that stick out in like kind of my infamy in terms of that. Maybe in more recent memory, the Scarecrow the Reaping one was actually pretty good too. The things that really got me in terms of walking through the house, in terms of going through the houses at Horror Nights. But yeah, if you want, share your best scares, your best moments that you've had at the event. It's all in good fun. So that's going to do it for today's episode. I think that's all I wanted to cover. Who knows what we'll talk about next week? Anything can happen. But until then, if you want to subscribe and like and comment and do all that stuff, you can. It will not hurt my feelings. Like I said, I'm going to make it probably a New Year's resolution to start to say that a little bit more. Because I feel awkward when I tell people to, watch me. But it is what it is. But anyway, guys, until next time, I will talk to you later.